Okay. I can do this. I can do this. Okay. Not gonna lie, y'all. I'm feeling very nervous about doing this video because this would be the first time that I'd be basically going public about this experience that happened to me years ago, and I need to do this. I need to do this for myself to have that closure that I've been looking for. So, yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Adrian Pangilinan and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new, thank you very much for joining along, and hopefully you like the content that you're watching today, and welcome to the family. And yeah, so today's video is a much anticipated video, which is about my sexuality and my faith. I admit I feel like going into this, I knew that this was definitely one thing that I knew I had wanted to do, that I needed to do for myself, you know, because I deserve it. This is part of the thing that I need to do to get my voice heard. So by the time this video is up, my coming out video should have been uploaded already, and I'll have the link down below for you to check it out too for reference. So by any shape or way, I am not doing this video to toot my own horn or to say that I'm a perfect follower. You know, I think this is just part of the thing that I have to do to get my voice heard, and you know, I just really want to share this experience, you know, to say that it really does get better. So yeah, let's get started. I am actually will be looking back and forth between my Trello notes. Oops. There you go, it finally autofocused. It's very long, so forgive me. I'm just gonna be glancing here and there so I don't get lost, because I actually decided to write this because knowing myself, I can just go on and on. And so just spilling the tea, I'm 26. Oh, it's nothing here, but you know, so throughout the 20-something years of my life, I was born and raised a Catholic. As a young kid in the Philippines, I remember going to the church that was next to the mental hospital where my mom worked for a very long time. Yeah, I remember being a young kid, always wanting to go out and play and never really wanting to sit down, you know, to pay attention to the mass. And at some point too, I think when I got older, I finally managed to stay still and, you know, just stay inside the mass the whole time. But even then, I'd have a hard time staying awake. Yeah, and I think, I'm trying to remember, I think we still went before, like early in the morning too, because I remember we would have our weekly lunches at Shakey's, which was when I fell in love with Shakey's. I love Shakey's. I love pizza. I love Shakey's. So there was that, and I remember getting older, maybe around 8, and I remember just being spunky and competitive and fighting with the kids around me so I could beat them to become the altar server, you know, during that day. And now that I look back on it, I feel like yeah, looking back at it, I think that was definitely my very first recollection of realizing my faith by doing this. And yeah, my parents also didn't tell me to do it, so that was definitely cool and very significant that as a kid I wasn't forced to do it, so therefore I was able to you know, make my own decision. And yeah, I was really glad actually to have done that. This was definitely when we immigrated. My whole family and I immigrated to the States back in 2001. So yeah, going back to the talk, still struggling to stay awake. And you know, but slowly but surely I started to find my reasoning to start staying awake, because obviously when you get older things start to make more sense to you, and I think the homily, the talk started making more sense to me. So it wasn't so easy for me to just space out and eventually fall asleep and wake up and do the same thing, you know. So there was that, and things weren't perfect. So another fast forward to 16 to 17 years old. So for a little bit. So even with that experience, for a little bit, I decided to stop going to church because of recently coming out to my family and just experiencing a lot of hard times and difficulties that I felt that I just needed to stay away, and that I didn't want to be. I didn't want to go to the church. That I didn't want to go to a church with them, and because I didn't want to go to church with them because of depression and anxiety and just not feeling comfortable. So I admit to my relationship with my family at the time was very rocky. It was very rocky, and all I remember was darkness and hopelessness. And I was very mad at myself because I really couldn't do anything about the situation, until I got to the point where I was just exhausted. I was tired, and there was nothing else left to do but to surrender. At that time, I just remember having two options. Either I keep going down this road of darkness, hopelessness, and depression, or I go the other way and really face it on, straight in the face, and go from there. And I just remember feeling being pulled to go towards this direction of I don't know, I want to say salvation. I just remember being so close to being in that point in my life where I wanted to resort to substances to numb the pain that I was feeling, because it was too much. It all became too much, but thankfully, him, the big guy, the big brother, big bro, all of those things, all of him, decided to pull me from this way to this way. And so shortly after that, as a young adult, I joined a charismatic ministry called El Shaddai, but I was in the youth division. I actually had met many beautiful and wonderful people in my life, and thankfully many of them were my friends already, coming in, so which helped with my being an introvert, especially coming into something very new. I feel so it could feel so paralyzing, that I wouldn't even know what to do. But thankfully, I had a friend who, invited me, and I, had spent many of my best years, in that youth ministry. Very good times, very, very good times, and it's always gonna have a special place in my heart. They know that, I know that. Even regardless of me not being active, with them anymore, but they're always gonna have a special place in my heart. But there comes a point where you just, you grow and you realize that, things are changing, and that you just simply need to, bow down and move on, So, fast forward to 2015. So the previous part was maybe about like 2009 or so. 2009 was when I joined. So fast forward to 2015. I remember not being as active as I used to, but I decided to go to this event with more people my age as a younger adult, like 20 plus or older people. So they had an event where their topic was about love, and you know, and all the excuse me, and all of the different facets of it. And you know, I went because I assumed that it also included LGBT. You know, so I went. Everything was going well so far. You know, even with the talks about how, you know, even you know, marriage is only for a man and a woman within the church. Even that I could stomach, I admit. You know, even though, you know, like, even though I stand firmly behind being myself and hearing that, it was okay. It was okay for me. It was okay for me to hear that because, well, you know, I accept that this is what they believe in, and, well, that's fine. You know, and you know, the praise and worship, very beautiful. You know, yeah, very beautiful, and it had actually been a while. It had actually been a while since I've been able to attend, so I was really able to, you know, feel all of it and really just bring myself back to a place of love and worthiness. You know, unfortunately, that quickly changed. So after that portion, I think towards the end they had a, not I think, they they definitely had a Q&A portion where it involved people submitting questions through a box, in the very beginning when people were signing in, and, you know, people were able to drop in questions as they wish, anonymously. And, you know, yeah, I mean, I knew it. I knew what I was getting myself into. But I was so, I was definitely unprepared for what was to come after that, you know, for the trauma and the damage that it did to me, you know, for so many years. And yeah, so going back to that, going to that moment, there were many people asking, you know, questions here and there about love, and then that point came where the questions regarding LGBT and you know, God started coming up. And I admit, you know, I was, you know, firmly rooted. I was keeping myself calm, telling myself I could handle it, and I did for a little bit, you know. Yeah, as the Q&A portion, you know, proceeded, more of those questions started popping up, and, you know, it got to the point where it, you know, felt more like an attack rather than curiosity or even inclusiveness. And, you know, I don't even remember the questions were really about, but I think one of them was, you know, does God love gay people? And you know, you know, of course, you know, they said yes, but it didn't help when those types of questions kept resurfacing, and, you know, several people were coming up and talking about their stands. And I admit, from there, I felt betrayed that these people that I considered my friends were the first ones who turned their back on me, you know. But then again, I can't force my beliefs on someone. You know, I sincerely hoped that during my 6+ years there that I was able to show and be, and, you know, and be an example that just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I can't serve, that I can't, you know, be a man of faith, you know. But apparently that wasn't enough. I told myself that I really wouldn't go much into this because, you know, for the sake of moving on and respect to them, you know. But I think I definitely need to let this out so I can have my own closure that I never got to have. Yeah, so those questions kept popping up, and it just got to the point where it became ridiculous. I was like, I was in my head, I was thinking to myself, what's up with these ridiculous questions? What's up with these ridiculous questions? And I just felt like I think at the end of the day, it wasn't handled well. It wasn't handled with sensitivity and definitely, you know, inclusiveness. And I think that's where it really hurt me, to finally realize that the people that I've grown to love and respect didn't have my back after all. And yeah, excuse me. So that was definitely the hardest part, was for that moment to realize that you know, your whole life had just, you know, changed in front of you, and there was nothing you can do about it. So in that moment, I immediately went back to that place of hopelessness and yeah, just that dark place and hopelessness that I was in before, that I had worked hard for so long to get out of. But in that moment, I went back there, and this time it became much harder for me to get out of it. You know, going back to that moment though, thankfully my friend Ate Leilani was sitting down next to me. Actually went up to me, seeing how much of a hard time I was taking it in, and several of my, you know, friends, including my sister, who went up to me and was just, you know, around me, showing their support. And because of them, you know, even as traumatizing and as heartbreaking that situation was, you know, because of them, I was able to stand in my own ground and not say anything, because you know, and because in any other reality, I would have went up, I would have said something, I would have told them off, I would have made them feel bad. I think I just would have spoken from a place of anger and hate, you know, which thankfully I didn't do, because, you know, deep down inside, I knew that I wanted and needed to be, you know, the person that walked by faith, not by sight, you know, like that saying. And thankfully because of them, I was able to just, you know, keep to myself, hold my own ground, and handle it well. Actually, sadly I didn't get to speak to any of them, the people that were involved in the talking after. And I feel like the sadder part was, it really felt like something that was pushed, that was put under the rug, like it had nothing, like nothing had happened, like what they said didn't hurt anyone, because I know I wasn't the only one there in that room, you know, that was that was gay, you know, that was part of the LGBT community. And I know that what they said was very hurtful, and I think they knew that too. And the fact that after the whole thing was over, you know, they went on with their time acting like nothing had happened. They didn't even talk to me about it, you know. And they knew that what they had done was wrong. They knew, and they didn't say anything to me because they were scared. They knew what they did. Excuse me. Whew, I'm getting heated. Yeah. At this point, I'm not even really talking I feel like at this point, I'm not even really talking in order anymore, or coherently. But let me try to go back to that. So that whole thing, that summer, you know, that was such a life-changing moment for me. And, you know, it took me such a very, very long time to finally come out of that, you know, as recent as now. You know, I didn't really start feeling comfortable going back into the church with my family. And, you know, like, I admit, you know, like there were many times where I showed up and my heart wasn't in it. I was absent. I was angry. I was really angry, and I think the sadder part in all of that was I was angry at myself. I was guilty, and the fact that I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't know who to turn to. Sorry, the camera turned off, but whew, I was definitely getting heated right before it turned off. But let me bring myself back. And I promise you all, this talk is coming from a place of love, and you know, that's what I have to keep telling myself. And you know what? I'm only human. I was really hurt by what happened, and I had to, like, for me to find closure in this, I first had to forgive myself. You know, I had to forgive myself, and then in that I was able to forgive them, and thankfully that's happened, and I've actually been able to talk to some of the parties involved, and yeah, we've actually been able to reconcile, you know, civilly. Is that a word? Civilly? I don't think it is, but you know, we're able to be civil about it, and it's okay. It's okay. What has been done is done, and you know, as traumatizing as that experience was, you know, I think, and thankfully now I can look at it objectively, for sure, but more so with love and care. You know, and not it be so traumatizing anymore. Going back to my notes, I know I had several more things I wanted to include in here before. Yes, so yeah, going back to what I was saying about forgiving myself so I can forgive them, so I can move forward. I realized that living life with anger and hate, it's too heavy. It's really heavy. Life is too short, you know. That's so cliche, like literally that saying, life is too short. It is cliche, sorry, it is as cliche as it is very true and very important. Like, I always, you know, tell myself that at least those that are diagnosed with, you know, only a few months left to live, at least they know that they only have a couple months left to live. So they have the opportunity to make amends, to make peace, to find closure, to do whatever they want to do, you know, before they leave. But what about us, those that are living every day? We, you know, realistically, we don't know when our life is gonna end. So I feel like for me, I owe it to myself to start practicing, or to continuing the practice of love, and as much as I can, even if it hurts, you know, because as one said, you know, the journey to happiness, you know, is painful, and I think that definitely proves to be true, you know. But at the end of the day, I just want to get to a point in my life where I can, you know, die and say, I did it. You know, I did it. I didn't hold back, you know, with as much dignity and conviction. I didn't hold myself back, and I lived my life to the fullest. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the main gist of this video for me is to be able to let this out, for me to be able to share my story, and for me to finally have a closure in this chapter of my life. And I have something in here that sorry. Yeah. Well, I've definitely went way out of script with this, but I'm gonna be real, as I feel like I've been, hopefully. Just kidding. You know, I feel like at the end of the day, I may not be a perfect follower of Christ, you know, but I feel that the God, the big guy, the big brother, whoever, you know, I feel like that greater being that I believe in is someone who is, you know, very loving, very compassionate, and very merciful. Because I feel like in this lifetime, you know, society told me, or society made me feel like, you know, society made me feel like that I can't, you know, find success, I can't find happiness, can't find peace, you know, because of simply choosing to be myself, you know, throwing away all of the labels, you know, and whatnot, that by choosing to be myself, that I can't find peace and happiness and success even, you know, but, and this is the very, and that is the very reason why I know that I'm in good hands. That I'm in good hands because, you know, I am very, very humble and grateful to be out here trying my best to live my best life, you know, being an open gay man, an open lover of life, you know, and that I have found success, happiness, and, you know, ultimately peace. And, you know, not to say that it's always gonna be like that, you know, it won't be, because life, you know, that's life. It's definitely, you know, constant journey of ebb and flow, roller coasters, you know. But I think at the end of the day, with the experiences that I've gone through, I think it's definitely safe to say that I can overcome, and I shall overcome, and that it does get better. It does get better. It does. Yeah. Woo! Woo! I know that was a very hefty, long, and very meaty subject to talk about, but I know deep inside my heart that He loves all of us, even with our own uniqueness. You know, thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video, to hearing out my story and helping me finally find closure to that chapter of my life. And yeah, I sincerely hope that this talk has, you know, shed a light into, you know, other people's experiences of, you know, with their own fate in their journey, you know, especially those in the LGBT community. Yeah, thank you very much. Excuse me. Yeah, thank you very much, and please feel free to like the video, comment down below if you have any questions or comments you wanna you know, say or ask about, and if you feel inclined, please subscribe. You know, I would love to have you join this family. And yeah, for now, I'll see you next time. Thank you.